Giving a salute. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and in the studio today we got Chris DeRuyter from the National Center for Urban Operations. Chris, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, as always.
Yep.
We are friends. We know each other. So let's talk about a few things oriented around the National Center for Urban Operations. Before we get to that, let's talk about you. So where are you from and what you do in the military?
So I'm actually from here in Florida.
Yeah.
Orlando native and graduate from UCF.
Yep.
Got commissioned in 2002 as an infantry officer. Spent most of my time in the Ranger Regiment and Asymmetric Warfare Group. And then was able to make it full circle and come back and be the professor of military science at UCF.
Yeah.
And that was a great way to exit the military, kind of give back and, let the next generation take the torch. So it's been great being retired. So I retired in July of 22.
Okay, so a couple years ago.
Yep.
But so you journey from, great career both in special operations and then working with the Asymmetric Warfare Group into working with cadets at the ROTC.
That's right.
To now working at the National Center for Urban Operations. So what is it? What is the center?
So National Center for Urban Operations was founded in 2018 by Colonel Retired Pat Mahaney. He's a Brooklyn native, retired Special Forces officer, and he really was the, I'd say, modern day, godfather, if you will, of urban operations thinking.
Yeah.
So back in 2012, 2013 timeframe, he was General Odierno's director for the Strategic Studies Group. So, being able to lead that Chief of Staff of the Army effort on urban operations thinking, he really kind of brought it into the modern day age, taking lessons from places like Iraq, but then also looking at some of the more historic, smaller battles from World War II on. And then looking at the growth of megacities and urban areas around the world.
Right.
So combining, the emerging operational environment with historical context kind of propelled some thinking on urban and subterranean warfare. Once he retired, he stood up this nonprofit up in New York City, and it's really focused on that intersection of national security, public safety, and innovation.
Right.
So you have to have an innovative mindset to really address a lot of the challenges that come with dense urban and subterranean.
Yeah, no doubt. And you guys got a great partnership with the city of New York, right?
Oh, they're amazing. 9/11 really kind of brought a lot of the various agencies in New York City together. And as an outsider going up there, I'm always impressed at just seeing the effectiveness of that interagency framework. I mean, there's always the rivalries, right? That's kind of something that always keeps us driving at a friendly competitive nature. But it's incredible to see, considering it's one of the most important and complex cities in the world. Yeah. Just to see the firefighters, the policemen, the FBI agents, the emergency managers, the people that are on the ground day in, day out, just keeping the city safe. It's pretty incredible. Lots of lessons we learned there.
I can imagine. So for the audience out there, so can you explain some of the things you guys do? Like, for example, you guys go up there and you run a course, right, up in New York City, talking about urban operations. We do. One
thing that's kind of unique is there's not a urban school in the U.S. Army, right?
It's crazy.
It is crazy. There's a jungle school, there's an underwater school, mountain school, you name it. But, where 65% of the world is urbanized, and that's where the people are, there's not an urban school. Now, there's various, points of light out there. The Army has a course out in California that they do once or twice a year. We run our courses about 8 times a year up in New York City. The unique thing about our course is, we immerse the students, and these are typically active duty reserve guards students from the Army or the Marine Corps. But we give them some academics up front, and then we take them into the city and show it to them. So they're just completely immersed in the environment. They get to see, smell, hear it, and just really puts the complexity into context. Vice just hearing, a PowerPoint slide presentation.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine. I know when I was a lieutenant in the Marines, we went down and we discussed urban operations. We went to Fredericksburg, Virginia, not a metropolis, but to just understand that that 12-story floor. What does that really mean?
That's right.
From a tactical perspective. And then you go to New York City. I got a daughter in Midtown Manhattan lives there, and for Courtney, when I go visit, you go see, you're like, wow, you can get, as they say, absorbed by the city.
100%.
Yeah.
And the courses that we run, that's just one aspect of what we're doing. We have a great team of people that have very robust, Ukraine expertise, Taiwan expertise, Israel expertise, Korea expertise. All the places that you think about as potential hotspots or current hotspots from a national security perspective. So, having that expertise on the team allows us to show elements that come up. It's like, hey, here's a example in this living urban lab in New York City, but here's how it applies in a real world context to help inform their own thinking as they continue to do what they do and defend our way of life. The other thing we do is we do provide kind of executive education on the problem set, both for industry and DoD, because a lot of times they don't have a lot of time, and they need very succinct education on the topic. So that is something that we're able to provide as well, because there's such complexity to the dense urban subterranean problem set that anybody who's willing to try to help, we want to try to inform them any way we can. So.
No, I appreciate it. I've seen through my own experience over the last 20 years where you see like the subterranean, we see it in the Gaza right now with the tunnels, the ability to communicate, and not realizing, some folks in the civilian world don't realize like our radios only go so far.
That's right.
Based on the way they're built and the propagation of waves. And then you see what's happening around the world, like in Kharkiv and the Ukraine, where the city quickly absorbs forces and the casualties, and what does that really mean for industry? So your guys are a 501c3.
Correct.
So for folks that are going to take a look at this video, and then also look you up online, you guys folks want to find you online, they just Google ncou.com?
NCUO.net.
.net,
right.
Okay.
So.
National Center for Urban Operations.
Correct.
And for a 501c3, obviously donation and grants help you, help the organization grow, and then also provide this education. It's pretty critical, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure there are folks out there that will definitely want to donate to your effort, and I look forward to having you on in the future so we can continue to talk about what you're doing, how you're exploring this space, which is obviously critical, because as we've all talked about, humans live in cities and urban areas. They don't live in the middle of the woods, and that matters. So again, go ahead.
Absolutely. We want to do what we can to help inform on some of these like challenging problem sets. I mean, there's especially in this day and age, there's a lot of misinformation, some disinformation. But a lot of times it just comes to a very basic level of understanding that just needs some more context to the complexity of it to help people understand. And what's going on with Israel right now is a prime example.
Right.
Ukraine is another example, and even in China, that's not in a military conflict per se, but we are competing with them economically, diplomatically, everything else. And these are high level topics, but as the world becomes more globalized and connected, like it affects us all. So the more we are all educated, the better we all are off.
Well, Chris, thanks for your service.
I appreciate
what you're doing in your post-military career. Hey, folks, check out Chris and myself online on LinkedIn, and then go ahead and Google National Center for Urban Operations, and take a look at what they're doing. Definitely informing what I call a critical vulnerability in our Department of Defense and other government agencies that we need to take a look at and then address immediately, and definitely in our future. I'll see you on our next segment.